Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you in part by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Sunday, everybody. Listen, guys, I'm so happy to be back in the lineup today. I have a bunch of information to get to you guys about the world of sports and what's going on here in Florida, guys. The Buccaneers, the Jaguars, and the Dolphins all won today, so that is a wonderful sign of things in the NFL here in the Sunshine State. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Gators' victory at the Gasparilla Bowl over Tulane. We're going to talk about Miami, the Magic. We are also going to get into what's going on in the NHL and tell you what's going on in the college basketball scene as the Florida Gators get ready for some rough games and SEC competition coming up. All that and more here on this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. But my name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, again, it is brought to you in part by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Well, guys, welcome to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, happy Sunday, everybody. I'm glad to have you here. I am so excited to talk to you about what's going on here in the world of sports. I apologize for missing last week. It's been a whirlwind of a week, and I am a little under the weather right now due to the weather, unfortunately, down here in not-so-sunny Tampa, Florida. I don't know about you guys, wherever you're at listening or watching from, but we had a relatively warm Christmas, which is pretty typical down here. Today it was 80 degrees and it's December 29th, right? So it's interesting, but I love it. Wouldn't trade it. But the weather has been a little wonky. It went from 40 degrees a couple of days ago to like just before Christmas, it was 40. On Christmas, it was like 70-ish. Today was 80. The Buccaneers played. It rained actually at Raymond James Stadium where the game was held. So it's just insane right now. But I'm here and I'm glad you guys are here with me. And so we're going to get into it. So first things first, guys. As far as the show is concerned today, I should say, like I said, we got some NFL info to throw your way. We have some college basketball and college football. NBA basketball, of course, NHL, hockey, and we will wrap things up with that and some food for thought to send you guys on your way. Get ready for the work week. I'm super excited about, what's going on here. The Buccaneers have a chance to make the playoffs. So I'm watching currently the Atlanta and the Washington football team game, or the Washington Commanders, my apologies. I'm watching that game right now as a Washington fan for one night and one night only, so go Washington. But as far as the others are concerned, this will be the last update for college football for a while, due to the fact that this was the only ball game for the Big Three. USF played a ball game. They won their ball game, and I think it was 6 overtimes. So that was an incredible feat for them. Congratulations to USF. But like I said, all that and so much more on this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. But before we get into all of that, we're going to have to go over our socials and word from our sponsors. So first things first, guys, if you're looking for us on the social, on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, etc., it's going to be at IE Sports Radio, guys. It's going to be at IE Sports Radio, letter I, the letter E, and then Sports Radio after that. That's the handle for all of our socials. Like I said, that's X, or formerly known as Twitter, if you still call it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Guys, the www.iesportsradio.com is going to be the umbrella, the website to find all of the shows, including my very own Palm Tree Sports Radio. And as far as all of the other shows that are concerned, you will find all of the information and more on those shows on www.iesportsradio.com, guys. And then, of course, if you are looking for us on the platforms for podcasts, which, for instance, mine would be Apple Podcasts is what I use. I'll use it to kind of listen to my show over again and see what I can do to fix or be better the following week. And that's just what I use. But you can find us on Spreaker, on Spotify, on YouTube. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts at IE Sports Radio, and of course with my handle being Palm Tree, which leads us to the social handle for this specific show, which is going to be Palm Tree _IE, guys. So that is going to be the same across all metrics as far as social media is concerned for this specific show, at Palm Tree _IE, if you're looking for the show, guys. So with all of the socials taken care of, let's go ahead and get a word from our sponsors, guys. Our sponsors, 2 of our sponsors are, the ones that you are accustomed to at this point, but we do have a new sponsor. Our new sponsor is actually going to be Vital Apparel. That is a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health awareness research. So use code IESR to get 15% off of their comfortable and inspiring gym gear and help in their amazing journey to support mental health, which is a massive thing. It's a field that we all need help in. I myself, if not excluded to that, I have taken therapy before in the past for some of the things that I've experienced, and not to be outdone from anybody else, I would recommend the same for anybody who has been through anything that, weighs them down or that just affects them mentally, guys. So that is a wonderful thing as far as our partnership is concerned. So we're going to get into a message for them. And of course, our very own Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And of course, Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole nother planet. So guys, keep it locked here for a few more moments. And after we get in a word from our sponsors, we'll dig into the show and get started on what I have to offer for you guys this evening. But keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back, you guys, to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I have a lot of one-liners I could start right now with. I think I'm just going to go with Molly, we're in trouble. Atlanta's just taking the lead on Washington right now, and that is not good news for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, guys. Man. So the Bucs find themselves in a very, very interesting place right now, guys. Before I get into that, first things first, I want to say, I mentioned this earlier, but I do apologize for missing last week. First things first, guys. We do have to talk about what happened last week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, though. That's not going to change anything. But let's just make one thing very, very clear. This team is not ready for the playoffs. And I think that's a big reason why I wanted to apologize for missing last week, because I have a huge opinion on what took place last week. And I imagine you guys too. So I want to hear what you guys think. Jump into the comments, guys. Let me know what you're thinking. I mean, if you think the Bucs suck, say that. If you think they're great, say that too. But realistically, there's a serious conversation to be had about the difference between the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And so we're going to dive into specifically what happened last week. And then we will get into what happened this week, guys. I'm going to run over and take a quick peek at the chat before we get into that. I love to do that. So real quick, hey, Dad, I see that you're in the house. It's good to see you, Dad, always. Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. It's insane right now. I'm watching the game, too, right now. Like you said, it was 7-7 early in the second quarter. But, yeah, the Falcons just – well, okay, it looked like they scored, but it says they didn't score. It's first and goal inside the 2, though. So it looks like they're about to score, right, which is not good news for us. Excuse me. Let's see. Washington wins, gives LA Rams NFC West, and gives the NFC South control back to the Bucs with 1 game to go. Yeah, that's correct. So that's what makes tonight so very interesting. I'm not going to say I've been one to sit there and watch the Washington football team or Washington Commanders in the past. I haven't. I don't hate the team. I don't like the Eagles or the Cowboys, but I don't really care for Washington. They're not a team that I really focus on. But for one night and one night only, I'm a fan of theirs. If they beat Atlanta, as my dad said, it gives the Bucs back control of their own destiny, and then the Bucs just have to win against the Saints next week. The problem is if Atlanta wins, They stay in control of their own destiny, and they have the final game against the Carolina Panthers, who the Buccaneers played today and absolutely destroyed. So that's where my concern lies, is that the route gets easier for Atlanta next week in the final game of the season, and it actually gets harder for the Bucs in the final game, knowing that the Bucs have not had a rich history against the Saints. So taking all of that in consideration, let's rewind the clock back 7 days, and let's talk about what happened against the Cowboys. So for those of you who weren't really paying attention to that game, the Buccaneers were in control of their own destiny, had won 4 in a row, and then they go see Dallas. Unfortunately, we laid an egg against Dallas. I mean, not only laid an egg, we lost, but we didn't lay an egg. The score of that game was 26-24. So the Cowboys had no business winning that game. The Buccaneers gave that game away. This is one of those games on the schedule that I look and I say this was an honest loss. I think that when you look at the Bucs schedule this year, that they've had 3 honest losses. And what I mean by 3 honest losses is that they went out and they just didn't perform enough to win the game. This was one of those games, okay? The other 2 games would be against the Ravens and against the Broncos. In both of those games, I can't look at anybody other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a team and as a coaching and an organization and say, guys, you guys just screwed up. You guys did not come to play. You guys played terribly. You didn't want the win, and you got the loss because of it. That would be the 3rd game of the season. The other games, including the game against the Chiefs, guys, that was refs. That was just – the Buccaneers had touchdowns called back in each of those games. Like I said, pivotal calls by the refs at specific times. With the Chiefs, it was twice on 3rd down, once in OT, one in the 4th quarter, which gave them OT. So, like when you pay attention to those things, you realize there are a lot of details that go into the game that shape the way the game is concerned and how it turns out. That is just an example of what I mean. The Cowboys game was not. The Buccaneers just played terribly. Cowboys defense looked phenomenal during that game, even though the Bucs, were able to get in the scoring position multiple times, and there were a couple of times they weren't able to capitalize properly. Baker Mayfield threw an interception, almost 2 interceptions, but he had 1 interception. That one interception was kind of on him. Just got to make a better read there, but I don't blame Baker for the game. In fact, Rashad Evans, Jesus, I'm tripping. Rashad White, Mike Evans and Rashad, I put them together. But Rashad White, he had a costly fumble that turned in 7 points for the Cowboys. That was probably the difference in the game, realistically speaking. I'm concerned about Rashad, and because of that, Bucky has kind of assumed the starting role. He is the better back, unfortunately. There's no way around that. I'm a huge Rashad White fan. I love what he did last year, but I have to admit he's looked not very good. Honestly, he just hasn't looked very good at all. Bucky Irving is the clear start. He's the best running back that we have. He's one of the best running backs in all of football right now, even as a rookie in his first season. And this game against the Panthers actually proved it even furthermore. Unfortunately, as far as the Cowboys game is concerned, when you talk about what happened, Baker goes 31 of 43, 302 yards. He goes 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You're not going to win games that way, guys. We abandoned the run game. I was screaming. I was actually part of the reason why I couldn't do the show was because the show was a late show last week, and I was actually at Festival of Lights / Buccaneers, kind of like a little party thing to watch the game, and it was hard to keep my composure in public, guys. That's the kind of game that it was. We got away from the running game. In the second quarter and a lot in the third quarter, I'm just screaming, run the ball, guys, run the ball. I get it. That defensive line was creating problems, but you don't abandon the run game, right? Because when you abandon the run game, you essentially abandon the pass game. It's easier to cover when they know that you can't run the ball, right? So we've seen that time and time again. We've seen countless Super Bowls where that was the difference in the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers utilized the run game in both the Super Bowls that they won. If you guys can see right there, that one right there. Yeah, that game, we won that game, and we had a tremendous rushing attack during that game with Michael Pittman and Mike Allstott, right? So this is an example of it further, in the future, so many years of, 23 years now, we're about to be in 2025, 23 years later, and it still stands true. You got to run the ball to find success. And the Buccaneers did not do that last week, and that's why they lost that game against the Cowboys. Again, they just did not make the plays to win that game. Losing to the Cowboys sucks. I hate losing to the Cowboys. Can't stand the Cowboys, but it is what it is. They won. They played a better game. Congratulations to that team. They got destroyed today by the Eagles, though, so hey, is what it is. But for the Buccaneers today, who had a division clash against the Carolina Panthers are last in the division. They're not exactly playing really, really good football. Unfortunately, they're 4-12 on the season after this game. The Buccaneers improved to 9-7 after this game. 48-14 be the score of this ball game, guys. Baker was perfect. Literally, he was as close to perfection as you can get in the NFL. Baker goes 27 of 32, 359 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions with a QBR of 153, guys. Baker's best game. Baker's best game probably as a pro, in all honesty. He was in the zone, and he was making every throw that you could make from a quarterback perspective. I have to say that, yes, it was the Carolina Panthers, but on the flip side of it, the last time we saw Carolina, the game went in overtime. So I'm very proud of how the Buccaneers performed today. I'm very excited with the way the offense looked and how the defense was able to really wake up after giving up that first touchdown on the Panthers' first possession and then only giving up 7 points the rest of the game. Very, very good there. Defense is still completely riddled with injuries, and there's a lot that needs to be done for this team to be playoff ready. I'll be the first one to say I don't think the Buccaneers are playoff ready, not with all these injuries. Do I think we have the roster for the playoffs? Sure, if we're healthy. No Antoine Winfield Jr., no Cameron Brate. Jeez, I am all over the place in Buccaneers history. Jeez. No Cade Otton is who what meant to say. I apologize there, guys. But those are just two extremely valuable weapons that we're missing, not to mention other cornerbacks. Tristan Izien was out for this game. Jordan Whitehead returned, but he did not look like himself. He actually got burned twice today from the safety position. He was out of position. I love Jordan Whitehead, but he's been struggling a little bit. Zion McCullum struggled early, but really pulled it together in the second half. And then, of course, Jamel Dean went down with injury to both his knees. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know what's going on with the defense. We don't really know what's going on with anybody that's not on the offensive side of the ball, in fact. But not to be outdone, the offensive side of the ball has probably never looked better in Buccaneers history, aside from when Tom Brady was calling the shots, guys. As I said, Baker went off today with a near perfect QBR, probably the best QBR of his career. But then it wasn't just him. Bucky Irving went off. Bucky Irving goes 20 carries, 113 yards, and another 77 yards through the air on 4 receptions, including a very long screen pass that almost led to pay dirt. So Bucky Irving, one of the best young running backs in the league, probably the best rookie running back, and perhaps even the best rookie in the NFL right now. We've seen JD struggle a couple of times this year, including the first game of the season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a great game last week with 5 touchdowns. Baker essentially doing the same thing that he did last week this week. But he's struggling right now against Atlanta. So we're going to see how this goes. I think this game is going to play a big part in what we talk about for Rookie of the Year, and especially Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that people need to start looking at Bucky as a legitimate, top 10 running back, because I think he is. And he's proven that so far this year. Hey, just go look at the stats, and remember, he's a rookie. So Bucky Irving went off again, 20 carries, 113 yards. Mike Evans, of course, went off. He goes 8 receptions, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns for Big Mike. Mike needs now less than 100 yards next week. What is it? He was at like 184 minus 97. 97 is what, 13? So what is that? Like 87 yards he needs. So 87 yards to get to 1,000 for the 11th time in his career, including every single year that he's played the game of NFL football. Guys, Mike Evans is a stud, okay? And he's really, really big. If you guys ever watch a game with me, or if I ever do a game or do a show while I'm watching a late Buccaneers game, you'll hear me say that Mike is really big, because in person, he's really freaking big, and he's very athletic for a man that goes 6'5". So super excited for this offense and what they were able to do, on all 3 phases as far as passing, rushing, and, of course, protecting the quarterback. I don't think we gave up a single sack today. Didn't turn the ball over today. Clean football. Clean, perfect, beautiful football the way it was meant to be played. Good job today, Bucks. Good job today. Next game, final game of the regular season, is going to be against the Saints. The Saints are rocking a 5-11 record, but that is the arch nemesis of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know Atlanta wants to be so bad, but they've never won a Super Bowl. And let's be honest, the best thing they've ever put on paper was Mike Vick. Okay, so realistically speaking and historically speaking, a game against the Saints, especially in the final game of the season, always carries heavy, a very heavy connotation with it, whether it be for the Saints winning the division or the Bucks winning the division. In this case right now, we need the Washington Commanders. I'm about to say football team again. The Washington Commanders to beat Atlanta, because we really just want to be in a win and we're in situation. We don't really want to be in a win and have to wait for help situation. So go Washington. Yeah, go Washington. That game against the Saints is going to be Sunday, January 5th. The time is to be determined. All the times for these games are actually to be determined, a large part due to the fact that there's so many playoff implications that are still up in the air until the end of this game. And then, of course, next week. Of course, if the Atlanta Falcons win, that kind of soft eliminates the Buccaneers from the playoffs as far as winning the division is concerned. We can still make the wild card, but still the wild card just requires a lot. I think Washington has to lose along with one other team, and you don't want to put that in somebody else's hands and another team's hands. You want your destiny to be in your own hands, and unfortunately, it's not looking like that's going to be the way that it goes, especially if Washington keeps playing this way. They're at 3rd and 30. Looks like they're about to get rid of the football. Yeah. Not good, guys, but at least the Buccaneers played well. Like I said, super proud of them and what they were able to accomplish this weekend. I look forward to seeing what happens next week in the game against the Saints. And hopefully we're able to bring that game home with a W and finish with a positive record this year. Moving on to the Jaguars. So as I mentioned before, all 3 teams in Florida won today. So that is a beautiful sight to see, including the Jaguars gaining a victory. Mac Jones kind of goes off a little bit, and I'm being nice by saying goes off. He didn't really go off. He just did what he was supposed to do at the quarterback perspective. But the Jaguars rocking a 4-12 record. They went to go see the Titans, decreasing their record to 3-13 with a 20-13 victory today. Mac Jones goes 15-22, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Pedestrian, but at least using the light when crossing the street, right? Very mild stats for a game against a Titans team that isn't playing really, really good football, but it's a division game. So a touchdown victory is better than no victory at all. And for that, I say congratulations, Jaguars. The only thing is you guys are not in the running for the number 1 pick in the draft next year. And that's just the only thing that you guys are kind of missing out on. But on the flip side, at least you're playing for something, and there's a little bit of pride there. 4-12 isn't a great record, but it's better than nothing. At least you didn't lose every game this season. Brian Thomas Jr., rookie wide receiver out of LSU. Very, very good. Very stud wide receiver that they have there. Goes 7 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown. So congratulations to Brian Thomas Jr. I knew he was going to be great regardless of who was throwing the football to him. You could kind of see it on the tape coming out of college. The guy's just a wizard. I'm super glad for him to be making a name for himself. I don't know if he's going to stay with Jacksonville. I think the kid has a lot of potential, and that he should be on a team with a gunslinger. Somebody like a Josh Allen, I think, would suit him even more, and I would love to see him play for a team that's going to do something with him. But nonetheless, I'm still glad with what he's been able to put on paper this year as a rookie, and I think that he's only going to go up from here. He can only has the potential to get better. So congratulations, Brian Thomas Jr. on a wonderful game, which are, again, 7 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Next game for the Jags, also a division game, going to be against the Colts, Sunday, January 5th, to be determined for the time. I think that the Colts were kind of dead in the water most of the year, and I don't think that has changed much. I think that Anthony Richards has been a bright spot when he's been a bright spot, but he hasn't played the entire season. And I also think the Colts are struggling right now with continuity as far as the rotation of players. They're struggling with injuries as well. So that game's going to be an interesting game to say the least. I think the Jaguars could probably pull this one off with it being so late in the year. They'll have momentum on their side. The Colts did lose today. So, we'll see what happens in that game. Again, the Colts are rocking a 7-9 record. Both teams are eliminated from playoff contention, but they're still going to play for pride. And it's a division game. So I don't think you just want to lie down in the final week of the season in a division game, especially in the AFC South. There are huge implications on next year. Next year is going to be wide open. The Texans showed wrinkles. They didn't just win this division outright. I mean, they did it per the record, but this is a very beatable team. This is not the same Texans team that caught people by surprise. People knew that they were going to be good this year, and I think that teams took them seriously, and their record kind of reflects that. So Jacksonville, you have something to build on. You win the final 2 games of the season, you just go from there. Mac Jones has to pull up, play another good game of football. The rushing attack hasn't really been there, but I mean, both of those teams were bad. So we'll see what happens next week against the Colts. Good luck, Jags. Again, that game is going to be Sunday, January 5th. The time is still to be determined, unfortunately, just due to the fact that there are so many games, again, with playoff implications moving forward. So we will see what happens, but odds are it'll probably be a 1 o'clock game. There's no reason to flex that game to 4:25 or 8:20 or anything like that. So Fins. They won today. All right. They beat the Browns 20-3. The Browns are in a really, really dark place. I'm going to take this time to say, Browns, I don't know. I know you guys are kicking and punching air right now, but you should be kicking and punching yourselves. Y'all let Baker go. And Baker, For the record, I want to read this stat to you guys, okay? I got you guys aren't going to believe this, okay? Baker Mayfield with the Bucks this year is currently having what would be considered and what statistically would be the greatest season by a Browns cornerback in NFL history. Baker with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay, is having what we would consider and statistically would be considered the greatest season by a Browns quarterback. Here you go. Baker has gone 4,279 yards, 39 touchdowns, and only 15 interceptions. And that would be good enough for the Browns' greatest single season by a quarterback. The Browns let him go and signed Deshaun Watson, and of course they picked up Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston pickup wasn't bad. I'm not going to say that it was. I understand you guys need a quarterback. He's available. Bang. Is what it is. The Deshaun Watson part, guys, there's no conversation to be had right here. Baker Mayfield is an infinitely better player than Deshaun Watson is right now in their careers, and Baker's only going to continue to go up, in my opinion. I think the guy is just – I love Baker. You guys know this already. I've spoken about him highly since he was in OU, since he walked in at Texas Tech, realistically speaking, okay? But I say all that to say that the Browns are just they're 3-13. And their record speaks for itself, right? The Finns rocking an 8-8 record now at 500 after winning that game. And they do it without Tua, all right? So Tyler Huntley goes 22 of 26, 225 yards. He goes 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but 7 carries for 52 yards rushing on the ground and another touchdown. He did it all today. Tyler Huntley was the man for the Dolphins, and he was the man on the field as far as that game is concerned. The next game for the Finns is going to be against the Jets. That Jets team is rocking a 4-12 record. Aaron Rodgers needs to go ahead and retire and call it a day. And that game is going to be Sunday, January 5th. That game is also to be determined. With all of these games being division games, the to be determined tag only makes sense with some of these games that will decide who's going to make the playoffs and who will not make the playoffs. So those are just some things to take into consideration. Odds are that game is probably also going to be a 1:00 game too. Again, there's no reason to flex that to a 425 or a 820. They're not playing for anything. Neither one of those teams are playing for anything. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. And as far as the NFL is concerned in the world of sports, and I've never seen anything like it with the situation that Baker has been a part of, going from, the Browns to the Carolina Panthers, who just saw what he could do. I know the Panthers are probably kicking themselves right now too. I mean, I'm over here talking about the Browns. What about the Panthers? The Bucs played the Panthers today. They scored 48 points. Baker goes 153.0 QBR with 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing, and only 5 incomplete passes, guys. They're going to go back and look at this tape, and they're going to see something, and they're probably going to try to have a little bit more patience with their players. Because after he got cut by the Panthers, you guys know the story. He goes to L.A., has that drive to win the game late, and then he comes to Tampa Bay, and boom. Now he's got a 3-year, $100 million contract. Love Baker, so glad for him, but those other teams, guys, they're definitely hating themselves right now. Hey, I'm not hating it, though. I love it. Love Baker. Guys, let's go ahead and get to our first break of the evening. When we get back, we're going to go ahead and dive into the NBA and talk about what's going on with the Heat and the Magic, and then we'll go on to college basketball, talk about what happened in that Gasparilla game, and then we'll close things out with the NHL, and I'll send you on your way with some food for thought, guys. Thanks for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be back in a few moments, guys. Keep it locked here.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on The Defining Moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Larry B and T-Rod, two of the very best that IE Sports Radio have to offer in the shows that they do a wonderful job every week bringing this content to us. And I, for one, take a lot of advice and a lot of notes when it comes to what those guys offer in their show. So go check them out, guys. But here at Palm Tree Sports Radio, my name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, it is brought to you and powered by, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Before we get into what's going on in the NBA, let's take a quick peek at the chat. And it is always, it's always loved in here, man. Always loved in here. Come jump in here, guys. Tell me what you're thinking. I want to know you guys' opinions. But let's see. So, Dad, you said the Bucks have now lost 6. So I'm glad you pointed that out, guys. Before we get into the rest of the sports, obviously, you guys know football is just probably my biggest passion in life besides my son. I've said that so many times on the show over the last few years. For you guys, I've been doing the show for about 2 years, give or take. Obviously not every week, but as much as I can. And I say that to say I've been a Buccaneers fan since the age of about 8, Dad. If you remember exactly what year I started watching, please let me know what it is, Dad. But I want to say I was about 8 years old when I started watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every week after church, because I would go to church and the Bucs game would be right after that. The Buccaneers historically are terrible at nighttime. Terrible. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many. Somebody look up the ratio. Just look at the amount of times the Buccaneers have played late games. And what I mean by late games, obviously just after 4 o'clock, right? Like not the 4:25s, but the 8 o'clock games, Monday Night Football, Sunday night, Thursday night. Go look at those. I'm telling you right now, it's a terrible win to loss ratio. It's absolutely just unforgivable how bad the Buccaneers are at nighttime. I think they're actually better in the cold than they are at nighttime. For a team that plays in sunny South Florida and we have 80-degree Christmas, we suck more at nighttime than we do in the cold. And to me, that's baffling, right? Like that's just unheard of. I've never seen or heard anything like that whatsoever. But So continuing on that, let's see. Only one player on Dallas was the difference in that game, taking away a touchdown from Jalen McMillan and stripping the ball late on Rachaad White. Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, I don't really care what the Cowboys defense did. Yeah, they played tremendous, but as an offense, we have to execute. We have to hold on to that football. We had a ton of penalties. I mean, obviously the referees are going to favor the Cowboys because it's America's team or whatever, but realistically speaking, that shouldn't matter. If the penalties were the difference in the game, I would come out and say that, but the truth of the matter, it wasn't. The Buccaneers played terrible against the Cowboys, and that's just how that game went down. That fumble by Rachaad White sealed the game, though, for sure. There's no doubt about that. Yes, congratulations on Bucky Irving on over 1,000 yards in his rookie season, and that's 1,000 yards on the ground. He's dual purpose, so he's got a ton of yards through the air, too. Don't forget about that. He had 77 today. All right. So don't look at that 1,000 like, oh, it's only 1,000. Like, no, you don't understand. It's 1,000 on the ground. Doesn't it include what he did in the air? Okay. I was 2 yards off. So there you go with the math. He needs 85 yards to tie the NFL record with the most seasons with 1,000 yards receiving with Jerry Rice. Guys, I keep saying this. I don't care how you feel about the guy. Okay. Mike Evans is a top 10 wide receiver all time, period. The end. The stats are right there. There's proof is in the pudding. The man had Josh McCown throwing the football to him, and he had 1,000 yards. All right. I don't want to hear it. I'd see it all the time on social media. He's overrated. Mike's over. He's not that good. All right. Go argue with your mom. You're overrated. Get out of here. If Atlanta loses to Carolina and the Bucs beat the Saints, they win the division. If Atlanta wins tonight. Yeah, well, The Washington Warriors or Commanders, my bad, Warriors. I don't know what Washington wants to do with their name. I'm going crazy right now. Washington is on paper a better team than Atlanta, but they're not playing like it. So I don't know what to say. They're down 10 points at half. 30 minutes to decide the rest of the future for the NFL. I mean, they play Dallas next week. I mean, yeah, and the thing is about getting in at the final wild card position is I don't know if that's what you want to do right now. I don't know if that's what you want to do right now. I mean, whoever we have to play is going to be a good team. That's all of these teams are going to be relatively decent. But the thing is, I think we want to play a team that we stack up well against, considering how many injuries we have. And I don't want to put the money on Dallas to beat Washington. I mean, they just got destroyed by the Eagles. Congratulations to Saquon Barkley. By the way, if you guys didn't know, Saquon Barkley made 2,000 yards this season. That's another guy that I was super high on. If you guys have watched the show long enough, you guys know I love Saquon because I love Penn State. I love the Nittany Lions. Knew the guy was going to be special. So proud of him. I hate the fact that he did it with the Eagles. Wish he did it with a team that I care more about. But congratulations to him, and may he only continue to go up from here. Love you, Saquon. Congratulations, man. You deserve it better, more than anybody. Oh, they do get the last wild card spot. I thought that Cincinnati was going to get it. If they both lose, Denver and Miami, a Cincy win gets them in. Yeah, see, I thought Cincinnati was going to make – I thought Cincinnati had the last spot. So, okay, well, hey, look, Dolphins, something to play for right there, right? So they can still make the playoffs as a wild card. Okay, so there you go. Larry B, my man, I'm glad that you were able to make it in. It's all good, my man. It's all good. We only talked about, football, so we still got a ton of other stuff to get into. But yeah, man, it's a lot of love for Florida right now as far as them being able to win all their games in the NFL. So that's huge right there. And then, Kaiser, man, that is unfortunate for them. So they lost to Grandview 35-7. They did have an amazing season, and yeah, the NAIA championship isn't the easiest thing to make it to over 3 years in a row. So congratulations to them. But unfortunately, like you said, they did fall short to Grandview, and I think Grandview's having a hell of a year too. So that makes a lot of sense. And they had a new coach. So okay, yeah. Hey, listen. The talent is talent, right? Like if it's there, it's there. And I think we've seen that with some of the teams in the NFL, right? Like, obviously, we've seen that with the Buccaneers. We've seen that with the Eagles. A lot of people thought the Eagles were dead after last year and what happened in the playoffs. And here they are, just thunderous and outlandishly one of the best teams in the NFL right now. So, it's insane. It's insane. But congratulations still to Kaiser. And then congratulations again to Grandview for their NAIA championship. That's amazing for them. I'm so happy for them. They deserve it. They truly do deserve it. Well, that's the chat, guys. Let's go ahead and get into the NBA, guys. Let's talk about what we have going on there. So to start things off, it's weird right now for Miami. I'm sure you guys by now have heard of all the rumors of the Jimmy Butler trade, and he was going to go to LA, and he was going to go to Golden State. He was going to go to New York, and he's going to go everywhere, right? No, he's not. The Miami Heat are not trading Jimmy Butler, so let's just clear that air right away before we even get into what's going on with the team. The last time I saw, though, they were losing to the Rockets. I think it was like the end of the third, 82-80 or something like that. I think that was the score. It was the end of the third quarter. So if anybody has that score, I have the freaking game on, so I can't flip over to it right now. But if anybody has that score, throw that into the chat, and we'll get that information out there. But for the Miami Heat, they're keeping their head above water, keeping their nose above water at 15-14. But due to the amount of injury that they had been dealing with, more specifically the longevity of the injury to Jimmy Butler, and then with all of the trade rumors going on, there's just been a lot to navigate through for this team. Eric Spoelstra, being the amazing head coach that he has, is still struggling with what he has at his disposal. He's got some players who are aging, and he's also got some players, again, who just can't stay healthy. So between those two things, that kind of just leads to what's going on there with the Miami Heat. But they were facing a Rockets team that's 21-10. So this team is actually playing really, really well. A couple years ago, they were terrible, and now look at them. They're in the plus in a major way. So the Rockets are looking good, and that's great for them, but not really good for Miami, who saw 2-2 in their last 4 games. They've got to find some continuity on the offensive side of the ball. In transition, they've been up and down, but more specifically, again, without Jimmy Butler, they struggled to score points, trying to funnel through Bam Adebayo, who's always been an amazing player, but you can't expect him to do it all by himself. There's got to be some help, and, especially from those young guys and Tyler Hero and all those other cats. So I think that Miami is just in a place right now where they need to find continuity through getting healthy. And if they can do that, maybe they can try to make a run, but it's not looking too good. They're not the better team out of the two here in Florida in the NBA. And I think that the Magic are kind of taking that torch and saying, hey, look, we got this now. You guys sit back. We'll worry about the playoffs, because right now Miami just they don't look like it. Unfortunately, they don't look like it at all. Let's see. All right, I want to make sure when they throw that in the chat, I'll go ahead and bring that up. But for the next game for the Miami Heat, they're going to go see the Pelicans. That's a team that's struggling even more than the Heat are. They're rocking a 5-27 record, which is good enough for the worst record in the East. Or the West, my bad. Whew, Jesus, my apologies, not the East, the West. That game is going to be Wednesday, January 1st at 7:30 p.m., guys. So if you're looking for some Miami Heat basketball, that's going to be your next chance to see it. A couple of days from today, again, January 1st, it will be the time for that. I will be off January 1st as the city of Tampa Bay is closed for New Year's Day. So we are going to take advantage of that and watch that game along with the New Year's Day balls as well. So I can't wait to see that. Hopefully Miami can get back in the win column again. 2-2 over the last 4, and I think it's 3-4 over the last 7. Not good. Not good, guys. Not good. Got to find some continuity again on offense and get back to that transition that from defense to offense that made us so potent over the last few years, guys. This is one of the things that we're going to have to do. And if we can't do it, we don't have a shot at the playoffs. So that's just is what it is. The Orlando Magic, on the other hand, they've been dealing with injuries too to their two main players, Franz Wagner and, of course, Paul Banchero. But that hasn't stopped them from acquiring a 20-14 record, which is good enough for fourth in the East. They're 2 games behind the number 3 team, and they won against the Nets today, who were rocking a 12-20 record, so they better had won that game. Score of that game being 102-101. Guys, it's a 1-point ball game, but a win is a win, especially for an injury-riddled Magic team who has also been 2-2 over the last 4, but they're holding on to that 4 spot in the East. Like I said, this team has the ability to play together, and this is one of the examples where I would always say that it is better to have a team of 4 stars than it is to have one 5-star on the team. You know what I mean? You got these 3 and 4 stars that play very, very well together, and when I'm just using that as a 5-star prospect type of measuring stick. And the reason why I say this is because we see that happen. We see that happen so many times in the past where this team has one amazing player and everybody else is just kind of just there. They might show up one day, they might show up the next. This Miami Magic team plays very, very well together. Teamwork is outstanding on offense, defense, and in transition. They do a great job keeping the penalties down. They don't foul out very often, and when their stars are on the floor, they look like a completely different team. Even when Paul Banchero went down, Franz Wagner had this team looking really, really good. Caldwell Pope, tremendous addition for the Orlando Magic this past offseason, and I think he's paid dividends. I love what this team is doing, and I love the way that they're trending. And if they continue to do this, they're going to find success in the playoffs and eventually become a NBA Finals, kind of team. They beat the team who won the finals last year multiple times last year, and I think they can do it again. And I think they will continue to do it as long as they continue to show up this roster, especially through the draft, which is where they've done the most of their work. So congratulations, Magic, on the dub against the Nets there. Again, 20-14 be their record. So again, good enough for 4th place, but that's going to be tested next week against the Pistons, who are rocking a 14-18 record. But that game is going to be Wednesday, January 1st at 7 p.m. So you have the Orlando Magic at 7 p.m. and then you have the Miami Heat at 7:30 p.m. So you're going to have some NBA basketball coming out of Florida back to back within 30-minute increments of themselves. So if you're looking for that, that is where you're going to find it on New Year's Day. I will try to watch both of them, but like I said, I'm going to be watching college football as well. Those New Year's Day balls are always really good. So I can't wait to see those games, guys. Let's take a quick peek back over to the chat real quick. Yeah, I agree, Larry. The Heat just need to focus. They do. And that's why I say that they're getting lost in the areas of the game that made them so potent in the past, such as transition. For me, the biggest thing is transition because that's a momentum stealer. basketball can be a very high-speed game, and when you're high speed and you're scoring, you're unstoppable. The Florida Gators are a perfect example of that. We're going to get into that in a second, but I do agree they do need to stay focused. They have a good team. They've got vets. They've got young guys. They've got point guards. They've got shooters, and they've got bigs. They've got everything that they need. They need to put it all together, but it's really, really hard to do that right now, and the Orlando Magic are showing what happens when you can do that by working well as a team. Yes, so the Heat won beat the Rockets. Okay, 104-100. Good, excellent. All right, and that's a perfect example, right? So you beat a team that has a better record than you, and you just need to continue to do that. Now, for a team that isn't struggling to win when it comes to the game of basketball, my beloved Florida Gators, that would be. They're rocking a 13-0 record, good enough for top for first in the SEC. They're ranked 6th in the nation right now, and they are looking good. Very good. They're looking good everywhere, defensively, offensively, in transition, from the 3 ball, inside the paint, maneuvering the ball, unselfish basketball, playing together. They have one of the best ISOs in the country, being able to do it with 2 different players, including a point guard. It's insane to see what this Gators basketball team is doing this year. I love what they've got going on. This team looks great after a 85-45 victory. That's a 40-point margin of victory there against Stenson. Now, yes, Stenson is rocking a 2-11 record. They're not exactly playing good basketball, and nobody expected them to win this game. But still, nonetheless, just the potency of this Gators offense, like I said, especially from beyond the arc and in transition, some of the biggest. I think that's where you really find success. Teams that shoot well beyond the arc and can play defense, it's going to be hard to stop them. Go look at the Golden State Warriors for better references, right? But realistically speaking, we got a big test next week, or actually over the next 2 weeks. I think actually it's definitely next week for sure. But I can't remember if that Vols game is going to be later this week or the following week. What I can tell you is the Gators are going to be playing Kentucky Saturday, January 4th at 11 a.m. Both of these teams are highly ranked. Both of these teams are rocking SEC, and it's not going to be easy, guys. It's not going to be an easy game because you got this game, you got the Vols up next after that. Vols are rocking a rank 1 in the country as far as all of college basketball is concerned, and they're also undefeated with a 13 or 12-0 record. I think it's 12 or 13-0 for the Vols. So 2 very, very tough games coming up. There's going to be a tough game shortly after that as well, but it gets a little bit easier after facing Kentucky and the Vols. Guys, I'm looking forward to seeing both of those games because I want to see how our team looks against true talent. That's going to be the measure of what happens for the Gators moving forward, and especially when we get into March Madness, because odds are we're probably going to have to see one, if not both of these teams again in the near future. So good job to the Gators for winning their game, but get ready to buckle up because it's going to be a tough one against Kentucky. That's going to be Saturday, again, January 4th at 11 a.m. So it's going to be early start time. Like I said, I'm going to try to catch it. Maybe I can throw it on my phone while I'm at work, and if I can do that, I'll watch the game and give you guys a bird's eye view about what that game looked like. But like I said, the game after that's going to be against the Vols, and that's rank 1 Vols. So 2 tough games coming up. For the Noles, all right, Noles. They started the season not bad, but they're 0-2 in conference play. So it's still bad. But they're 9-4. So like I said, 9-4 is not bad for the record, but as far as conference play in the ACC is concerned, it's terrible. They're 0-2 right now. They lost to Louisville 90-76. That was the second loss in the conference in the game for them. Louisville rocking an 8-5 record. Both these teams a game apart from each other, but unfortunately, with Louisville controlling the tiebreaker now, FSU is in some serious trouble as far as ACC crown is concerned, and the kind of help that they're going to need, they're not going to be able to get, not in college basketball, I don't think. The next game is going to be against the Orangemen, Syracuse. 6-6 Syracuse, that's going to be Saturday, January 4th at 6 p.m., guys. So both those games are going to be on January 4th, but 5 hours away from each other, 7 hours away from each other, with one starting at 11 a.m. and the other starting at 6 p.m. So you'll have the opportunity to watch both of these teams play football, or play basketball, I should say. We're in conference action, so I think that's really what makes it worth it right now to watch those games, especially if you're wanting to look to see kind of what the future has in store for us, especially for the crowns are concerned as far as SEC and the ACC crowns. You're looking at 2 teams in the Florida Gators and the Kentucky Wildcats who could potentially be playing for the SEC crown. But as far as the ACC is concerned, neither one of these teams are going to be fighting for that crown between Syracuse and Florida State. So that's unfortunate, but still should be a good game. I look forward to seeing it. Good luck, Florida State. I'm also impartial to Syracuse, so may the best team win. And we'll see what happens next week when we get there, guys. Not really a lot to talk about with the Canes. The Canes, they're not playing well at all. They're 4-8. Somewhere last year they lost their basketball identity, and ever since they've never recovered. It's unfortunate to see what's happening to this team right now. They lost to Mount St. Mary's 78-74, 4-point ball game to a Mount St. Mary's team that struggled earlier this season against I think it was Florida, I believe it was. And I don't know what the future has in store for the Canes, but it's going to have to start with them probably fixing something in the coaching department. This is not the way this team should be looking right now. They looked good early last year, and then they fell apart. And that, like I said, they just never recovered. I don't really know what else to say. They're not playing well on either side of the ball. They were at one point able to score at will. Now they're not able to do that, sometimes hindering their own selves beyond the arc. They're terrible. In transition, they're not too bad. Defensively, they're not too bad, but they've got to play better. It's the equivalent to watching a team that's 7-9 right now in the NFL, right? Like it like the Colts or any of those other teams. That's what it looks like watching this Canes team play. Like they have potential, but do they tap into it? Not really. No. Yeah, it's terrible. It's just terrible. I don't like it. I expected a lot more from Miami. I think that's where I'm coming from. Honestly, I expected a ton of more from them last year, and it's just kind of carried over to this year. So it sucks, but there's nothing we can really do about it. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to say. Next game is going to be against Boston College. That's Wednesday, January 1st at 12 p.m. Boston College rocking 8-5 record, doing a pretty good job staying afloat in the ACC. I think they're 1-1 in conference, so they have potential, but they're going to have to win and get some help. And they should be able to get some by playing the Canes, because I just don't see how the Canes are going to be able to beat Boston College right now unless Boston College beats themselves. That simple. College football, on the other hand, we did have the Gasparilla Bowl. The Gasparilla Bowl was here in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. I wanted to go, and I started to buy my tickets, but I had to work, and it was unfortunate. I really, really want to go, guys. I wanted to go, right? Like I wanted to go, but had to work. Unfortunately, I work with the city, so when the city needs you, the city needs you. It is what it is. No way around that. Next time. It won't be the last time the Gators play a ball game here. We've actually played like 3 ball games here over the last 20 years, believe it or not. So I'm 100% sure the Gators will make it to a ball game. The Raymond James Stadium and the city of Tampa love to host the Florida Gators for any and every event that we can. In fact, shout out to the Florida Gators men's football team for working with a nonprofit organization that the city that I work for and a company that I've partnered with many times. They worked with them before the game. Actually, I think it was 2 days before the game. They were doing some community service in the city of Tampa here, and they did it with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. So I work with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful almost every week, every other week for sure. I work with their boat club and as well as their tabling events. So very closely knitted in with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, and so glad to see my boys, the Florida Gators, out there representing, not just Gainesville, but Tampa Bay here with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. And shout out to Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, and shout out to Liberty Manor out there with all those vets and all the guys out there for those who have served, our nation. I know I kind of got off there a little bit, but I just wanted to say that I thought that was really, really cool, being able to partner together with the Florida Gators through a company that, again, partners with the city and the department that I work with. So. But for the Gators, as far as what they did at the Gasparilla Bowl, all they did was go and beat Tulane 33-8, improving their record to 8-5, which is the best record they've had over in the last 4 or 5 years. I think it was 4 years. 4 years. Last 4 years, 21. We had a great record. I think it was 10-2 that year. So shout out to the Gators for ending that game, ending this year on a high note, winning the last 3 games, massive last 4 games, something like that. Super proud of this team. Super proud of where this team is headed. Big Desmond Watson had a carry for a first down on offense, guys. If you don't know, we had a stud defensive tackle named Desmond Watson who went. He was 6'6", 421 pounds, and that was his last game in a Florida uniform. So he got on offense and was able to punch in a third or was it fourth down? I think it was third down conversion on a run play. I think we all want to see it. super excited to see that guy get the football. Super excited to see this team play. DJ Lagway did what he does best, control the tempo. Yeah, he made a few mistakes, but don't forget, guys, he was a true freshman this year, and he wasn't 100% healthy. So for us to be able to win that game the way we did, tremendous. I love you guys. Great season. I can't wait to see what the next year's season has in store. In minor news, the Gators actually have had a ton of portal transfers. A lot of these kids want to come out and play with DJ Lagway, and he is going to have a whale of a time next year with the new weapons that he is going to have, both at wide receiver and running back. But we will be losing a lot of studs, including Jim DK, and Shamar James. A lot of guys are going to declare for the draft and have already declared for the draft. And to them, I just wish them nothing but the best of luck. Go Gators. We love you guys and can't wait to see you guys in the next level and see you guys produce in the NFL. With that being said, guys, let's move on over to the NHL and get ready to close things out, guys, with the Tampa Bay Thunderbolts, guys. Lightning Bolts. I said Thunderbolts. Lightning Bolts. Jesus, not Thunder. That there isn't a Thunder team in the NHL. That's the NBA. But for the Bolts, rocking a 20-12-2 record. They are playing so right now. They're 2-2 over the last 4, and they're 4th in the Atlantic. They lost to the Canadiens. I think it was 5-2. I think it was. Canadiens rocking a 16-17-3 record. This team's really starting to come along right now with back-to-back wins over the Bolts and the Panthers. So congratulations to the Canadiens, much to the dismay of both of our Florida teams. Bolts, Panthers, we got to get back on the horn. Both of these teams not looking like they have over the last few years, but still hanging in there. Very much so into the playoff picture for both of these teams, but there's got a lot of work that has to be done for the Bolts. The Panthers just have to continue to stay in that 2 seed right now, which is where they're at. But for the Bolts, they're struggling, man. They're struggling, and by struggling, I mean they're just not playing the way they have played over the last few years. That should change, hopefully, in this next game against the Sharks. Sharks rocking 11-22-6 record. So definitely leagues above under the Bolts, and that gives the Bolts kind of a leg up. Hopefully they can get this W here. That game's going to be Thursday, January 2nd at 10:30 p.m., guys. So super late start time for that game, but it is what it is, guys. Again, that game is going to be against the Sharks, so the Bolts are going to look to rebound off of that pretty big loss against the Canadiens and try to and better their record and better their chances for a postseason, a postseason run, guys. We've made the postseason each of the last 5 years. A Stanley Cup victory has come from either the Panthers or the Bolts over the last 5 years as well, with 3 going to the Bolts and or my bet, I think it was it 3? 2, 3 going to the Bolts, and then of course 2 to the Panthers. And I said, I meant to say represented, okay? Meant to say represented. So a Florida team has represented the Atlantic each of the last 5 years, and that is massive. So hopefully that continues this year, but it's definitely looking a little bit more scary than it has over the last 5-6 years, in fact. The Panthers, on the other hand, right now, they're rocking a 22-13-2 record. That's good enough for the second place in the Atlantic right now. They lost to the Canadiens 4-0 as well. Like I said, Canadiens coming off of a very good bang-bang double victory over the Bolts and the Panthers here in their Florida tour. That is unfortunate for the Panthers, who are also 2-2 over their last 4. But again, they're second right now in the Atlantic, and they're still very much in the hunt. They've just got to put it back all together again and bring back continuity from winning. We're talking about a team that used to rip 4, 5, 6 in a row consistently at a time before taking a break and losing by resting some of their players. So just take that in consideration when you're thinking about the Panthers right now sitting at second in the Atlantic. This team is still playing really, really good hockey. They're just a step below where they were last year right now, just a step below. But that's obviously probably going to change moving forward. Their next game is going to be against the Rangers. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Rangers rocking a 16-18-1 record, so a sub-500 record usually spells good news for the Panthers. Hopefully they're going to be able to get back in that win column after this loss. They've been 2-2 over their last 4, so there's a 2-2 trend going on right now in the state of Florida with most of the teams. Hopefully that changes. Guys. But that's what's going on there in the NHL, and that's what's going on in the world of sports coming out of the state of Florida, guys. At this point, we're just trying to find success. We're headed to the postseason in the NFL, soon to be in the NHL. College basketball is in full swing. Our boys wrapped it up with a W in college football. That's where we're at, guys. we're looking for success, looking for continuity on, everything that we do coming out of Sunshine State, whether it's hockey, football, basketball, and also looking for continuity for baseball, right? Obviously, baseball, spring ball is going to be around the corner once the new year turns around. And we're super excited about that. Hopefully, the Marlins play better than they did last year, and hopefully, the Tampa Bay Rays can return to form, next year after having a down year. Love those teams, but for the time being, fingers crossed, hoping for the best, guys. That's all we can do. One more quick peek at the chat before I send you guys on your way. Yes, touchdown to Washington. By the way, if you guys didn't see that, touchdown to Washington, 3-point ball game. Come on, Washington. We need you guys. Tampa Bay Bucks need you guys. That's what's going on, though, guys. I really appreciate having you guys here at Palm Street Sports Radio for this week's episode. I look forward to seeing you guys same time, same place. As the new year begins, guys, I really would advise you guys, I'm going to make a vision board for the 2025 year. I would encourage you guys to do that. Put all of your ideas and plans on paper, put them where you can see them, somewhere where it glares at you every day before you walk out, before you head to work, before you go train or you go to school, whatever it is that you do, guys. That would be my advice to you guys to start the new season. Get a vision board out, like I said, and work on those plans and ideas. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to get a giant whiteboard and do it myself. And, I'll share some of those with you guys hopefully next week, and we can go from there. But next week will be 2025. So until then, have a happy new year. I hope and pray that all of you guys enjoyed Christmas and Christmas Eve with your families and your loved ones. I pray for you guys have many more moving forward. And again, thank you so much for having me watch here at Palm Street Sports Radio. My name has been Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, this is brought to you in part by IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you guys for everything. See you next year. Take care.